Well, it's 9:01. Shauna is planning to come, but she's running a little bit late, so I know she'll be joining us. I don't know if Doug will be coming. But I suppose we should go ahead and get started. I'm gonna shut the door because these speakers pick up noise from the hallway.
I do hear somebody opening and closing doors out there right now, though.
Yeah. Let's see. Thank you, Tom. I don't know if I heard anyone.
Some sort of movement is happening, but they'll know how to open the door. Is it here too?
They're fairly new.
Oh, I meant, we don't have the like ceiling.
No, the
Right here.
Yeah, I see.
courtroom.
Looks like throat lozenges in here.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started.
Where's Joyce? Has she been ill or away or?
I haven't seen Joyce.
We haven't seen her in the last few.
She has decided to retire from some of the committees.
Okay,
She's not gonna be on it anymore, but
Joyce?
she's gonna call in and check in every now and then.
okay.
Is that Joyce? I wonder.
She's one of the old timers.
Yeah. All right, well, good morning, everyone. It's 9:03. We'll go ahead and get started. I was hoping Pat Venezia would be with us. Maybe she'll pop in. Because our topic for today was an update from the ECB. Jared obviously can't come because he's at school, but yeah, so I was hoping someone would be here from the ECB to talk to us. But they did provide us with an annual report. But before we get into that, Karen and I were just talking, and the last time we met, I let you guys know that our Pdr, our farmland protection project up on Sand Hill Road, was gonna go to closing, and we did.
That's awesome.
It closed last Friday, so now the town of Canandaigua is the holder of an easement on their parcel. So it'll be protected against development, non-farming development forever. They are still allowed to and kind of expected to, continue farming the property. They can sell it, but it can't be developed into housing or other.
Does the easement follow a sale?
Oh,
If
yeah,
they
it's
sold it-
it's a deed restriction.
If they sell it, the easement stays in place. Yep, it's intended to be perpetual.
Is that in the Palford Brook Greenway too?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so their property sits along the border with Farmington, up on Sand Hill and Ladding Road. It actually straddles Sand Hill Road, so they have some acreage on the west and the east side of Sand Hill, up at the very northern part
Which
of the town.
pretty is this?
Keith and Linda. Yeah, so it was nice to see that finally go through after quite a while of working on it.
So the easement then becomes attached to the deed, I take it?
Yes,
It is it's a deed restriction. It says in perpetuity, it
Yeah.
can't be subdivided and certain things can't be done.
It'll protect it for
yeah.
the rest
And
of the time.
And the Department of Ag and Markets is aware that, farms evolve over time.
Mhm.
There's allowances in there for if they need to build a new barn or an additional farm-related structure, or if they want to change the crops they're growing, or change their farm operation completely, switch from crops to cows. They can do all that. Ag and Markets wants to make it easy for the farm to continue to be successful. So, it's not like they just have to stay the same as forever, whoever owns it. It just needs to be a farm operation.
And how many acres is it, Sarah?
About 185,
Great.
so not, enormous, but pretty good.
I think that's really good size.
Well, she's in Bristol now, so that's not.
Well, some of our farms are, hundreds of acres,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Right, right.
But yeah, so that's really nice to see that go into effect. But yeah, I just wanted to.
When you put an article about it in the newsletter, which I'm sure
We
you will,
probably will. We would like
You
to actually take
explain-
pictures, but wait till the weather's nicer.
but explain how the easement works, because I'm in PDR as an easement works, because I'm sure most town residents do not have a clue
Yeah.
as to how that happens.
The ECB.
And it's interesting,
Yeah, the ECB actually, and I think when Ryan was involved, we had a couple of outreach seminars or whatever
Mhm.
to inform people about conservation easements.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
don't necessarily have to be a PDR.
Correct.
Right, I understand that, but I don't think most people understand the details that go along with it.
Yeah,
You know, as a deed restriction, that allows the farmers to continue farming even in that easement.
they've essentially-
It's a farm-related activity, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
They've cashed out their potential for development and subdividing.
Yeah.
So that they continue to own their land, do what they want with it, but they've also gotten out their retirement money, so they don't have to sell a bunch of lots off to.
But
To live in
I'll
retirement.
mention it to people, like the Rockland Bank,
Mhm.
PDR. I'll mention, well, what's that, What do you
Yeah,
mean?
I mean,
They-
unless you are a landowner or a farmer, you really wouldn't necessarily be familiar with it, or, if you're interested in what the land trust works on. Now, the Ag Committee, at least 2 times in the last several years, has done us like a presentation, if you will, at the county fair.
I
Of
know
course,
they
they're
have,
not
yeah.
always well attended, only the people who are interested in it,
Right.
so farmers and landowners usually show up.
I think we actually sent an invitation to anybody with more than 10 acres.
We did a couple years ago when this last window opened
Yeah,
up. We sent, at the time, it was 50 acres or more.
With it.
It's since changed, that rule's not in place anymore, but we sent a letter to everyone. I think it was farmers, so from our ag plan, there's properties identified as being farmed versus not farmed. With 50 acres or more, letting them know that this was a project or a program that was available if they were interested. I can't remember the number of applications we received. It was a handful, less than 12, but it was quite a few. And then the ECB and the Ag Committee ranked them and said, here's the ones we think you should send. And that's how it gets started.
Good job, Sarah.
Yeah, that was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work. The good thing is we
So
are good
much work
friends
for
with
you.
the land trust, so we have good contacts. They were always quick with answers to my questions, and they gave me some help too, so.
Are we one of the leading municipalities as far as taking advantage of the PDR program?
We're not the only one, but I think we are one of the ones that's out in the forefront.
I think it's excellent because we have so much development pressure in this town and we're really in that transitional period. I think it's great. Anytime we can preserve some of that.
I mean,
that's
it
wonderful.
works. It's, aside from just people who are able to just buy the land,
Mhm.
right? This is, one of the next best things.
Is there a minimum acreage requirement for it? You alluded to that earlier.
Kind of, yeah, so the state changed the program during this past year. During 2020, they did not have an application window. We had expected it, but they didn't. So they released it this year in 2021, and when they did, everything changed. Used to just be one category, farming.
Mhm.
Or farm, you have to have some sort of a farm production on your land, and there you go. Now, there's like 6 different categories. They tried to make it so that more types of farms are eligible, but now some of the farms that we thought were eligible are no longer. So if your main crop, so to speak, is timber, it's not gonna work unless you also have other other farming, because the ag and markets doesn't really consider that true farming because it's not food.
So
Is it a competitive process?
Not anymore. It used to be, up until this new one. That was one of the things they got rid of. I said, now there's just money, and there's these categories, and there's rules. If you check all the boxes, you can have the money until it runs out. Whereas before, it was very competitive. But because it's non-competitive, they needed a way to weed out. And I think that's why they've made it so specific now to each different category. There's agroforestry, there is a way that timber, like Christmas tree farms and just wood products can be in there, but it can't be the only thing.
That's what kicked Dennis Money's property out?
No, his was never really in the running.
Okay.
His was popular, but not, it wouldn't have worked with the program even before, we don't think.
Because he was selling
He dabbled in a few different
the
things.
maple products.
There's a young man who leases land from Dennis to do maple and some other things and timber and stuff. So, I mean, he's a very responsible landowner and his land is worth saving, but we didn't think it was gonna work with the Ag and Markets program. But he's still in contact, the land trust, you know, is still there. There could be some other programs. There's talk of a state program that would work kind of like the agricultural PDRs, but it would be more for habitat and forest preservation, but not sure that's really established yet. But people like Dennis and landowners like him who have large acreage that's not necessarily mainly for farming, maybe could use a program like that. I haven't heard much about it, but
For taxes, can he get an ag exemption?
I don't know.
Do you know, Shauna?
I don't know.
That has to do with if there's, if he's got the ag exemption, you know, on the property, if it's an
Well,
agricultural
You
district.
know, whether timber and
Well, yeah, there's
and
restrictions on how much money you make
maple
do.
Right, and how many acres
is
and-
really ag or
So
not.
I don't know.
And
What you make on site,
Yeah.
yeah.
can PDRs be in 2 different townships?
Yes, so the Genesee Land Trust is working on finishing out a project that is in Farmington and the town of Canandaigua right now. One of the parcels falls in the town. So yes, and we think one of our farmers has parcels both in Hopewell and the town, and they recently got one, so. Yeah, so it becomes a partnership project.
Mm-hmm.
And not all conservation easements are PDRs.
Right.
I know.
Actually, most of them are not.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm sorry, that took up a lot more than I intended it to. But
We were just so excited.
But anyway. So I apologize, I did not get a chance to read the report from the ECB. And we do not have a representative from the ECB with us this morning. I'll share my screen anyway and perhaps.
I can help you since I helped Jared with this.
Okay, I was also kind of hoping that.
Mhm.
She said that before you came in.
Did she?
So, yeah, Jared, as you guys know, he's the facilitator of the ECB. He sent their annual report to me yesterday, and it kind of talks about what they've been up to. And Shauna, since you're more familiar with it, maybe you can kind of go over it. And as you know, when we get these updates from the groups, we're just kind of looking to see what have they been up to, and then maybe what are their plans for next year.
Did you send that out to our?
I did this morning,
Was on that email?
yeah.
Sarah, can I use the mouse?
You can drive.
That'll be helpful.
I don't know if you need this.
No, I don't. A lot of this report is highlighting kind of townwide, you know, what's been done. And let's see, we just talked about open space, the Purdy Road. The biggie, I think, is for the ECB, from what I mean, and I'm coming in, you know, new as well, but like, the majority of what I feel they did this year were very thorough reviews of referrals from the planning board and zoning board of appeals. I went through each referral just to kind of, you know, summarize what they were looking at, and the majority were single family site plans, mostly new homes along the lake. So they're very cognizant of location and shoreline guidelines, preserving as much natural vegetation as possible, steep slopes. I mean, their reviews are thorough, and the planning board really takes into consideration all of their comments. They really value their insight. from what I've experienced so far. So, let's see, 24 site plans, 8 subdivisions, and then the Aura is the solar project. Let's see, the NRI was finished in 20, updated in 20 and finished in 21. So Jared wanted to talk about that. And I looked back, and the exploratory app was being developed in 2019, and now, I mean, it's fully functioning and a really great resource for.
It's really thorough.
There's
What's it
so
called?
much information. It's the planning exploratory app
Okay.
on Encore.
Okay.
It's amazing.
And on a side note to that, when I was preparing the report for the Purdy property,
Mhm.
it basically has to be a snapshot of the whole property,
Right.
everything about it, buildings, land, soils, etc. I use the exploratory app for the report,
Mhm.
for a huge part of the report.
Mhm.
So is that just the Encore app, or is it?
It's
more-
actually a
is it-
separate app altogether.
It is.
It is. It is. It's
You get it in the same place, but you
You do.
don't actually open up the Encore GIS program with the county. You go to the same page on their website, but there's, I don't remember, it's like, there's another
little button.
tab. It's really thorough. It covers, soils,
Everything you
wetlands,
see here,
historical
basically.
sites,
Yeah.
land cover, utilities, wells. I mean, anything you might want to know about what's on that property, it should be on there.
Mhm. It takes a very long time to
To load it.
load it.
Yeah,
Just
about 5
FYI,
minutes.
like a long, like
Really?
So you're not
like
gonna do it. on
go
your phone.
away and do something for 15 minutes. No, you're absolutely not gonna do it on your phone.
It
Unless
does.
you wanna lock up your phone for
I love the Encore app, though.
yeah.
That is
Oh,
really an
Encore is-
amazing thing, my God.
I haven't done Encore on my phone. You can do that on your phone too.
You can. It's a little more
It's
awkward.
It is,
but you
it's
can.
nice. Let's see, so NRI is very similar, features or characteristics of the that you find in the app. Let's see, public outreach. The website is amazing. The ECB's website, and I feel like it really needs to be highlighted. They put so much information up there, and it's really informative. I wish we could kind of get it out there more, just because of the resources that are on that site.
They should write an article for the newsletter about it.
I wonder if like every month on the newsletter you could highlight a different spot on the website to explore. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like plans that people haven't looked at in a while or what have you. Or...
Yep. Because the ACB's portal has so much.
Yeah, I added a link to the ECB page
I'm
on the
always
town's
messing with those
website to their spot on the newsletter. I don't know if people are clicking on it, but they ought to write an article about the GI Naturalist app, the specific
That's such a cool app.
thing that Kim developed for the town using that. I mean, we have the flyer on the newsletter for that, and I think we mentioned it on Facebook once, but they would be willing to write something up about it, how they got it started, what you can do with it, why it's cool. I think that would be a really great article. Maybe not until the spring or the summer when people are more likely to go out there, but you can take your phone and you can say what you found at the parks.
It's super. It's a really
I
good
didn't know
resource.
that.
Oh, it's super. It's a really neat app.
How many people, you must have a count, for instance, get the newsletter online?
It's hard to say how many see it, because there's a lot of different ways you can see it.
You don't know how many people open it.
No, I know how many people we emailed through the MailChimp, and I know how many of those people clicked on the email or at least opened the
At
email.
least open the email, but you can't see. Are there click-throughs? that you-
Yes, that's just for MailChimp though. So, but we also put it on the website and we put it on Facebook. So total numbers, I really don't know. MailChimp only, we send it to 1,500 people and about 40% will open the email and very few will actually click.
Wow.
But, I mean, that's 40% are actually looking at it, and for some of them, it depends on the email programs people have. For some of them, it's the whole email right, their whole newsletter right in their email, so if they're opening it, they're seeing the whole thing. For other people, they may actually have to click through to open the whole thing, it's hard to say. But when we share it on Facebook, another 1,500, couple thousand people might see it. And so I don't really know what the actual numbers are, but
Do we do any other social media though?
we have a Facebook page for the town and we put all kinds of stuff on it, really. We put,
I mean, do we do Twitter or Instagram?
we
or
don't do
anything?
Twitter. I kind of wished we did Instagram. There are ways that if you have an account with Instagram, you can link it to Facebook and MailChimp.
Mhm.
But again, it's just another thing, no, and we don't have one, but,
Twitter would be not a bad idea. A lot of people use.
yeah, the trouble with adding more social media is you have to have a plan for what you're gonna post on it.
Right.
Or people will
Right.
just get tired of you and not pay attention
Mhm.
anymore. Yep. If you don't have at least one post a week on Twitter, I don't think it's worth it, and that's 52 different things and we've gotta come up with, which, if we can come up with 52 different things to talk about, that's not just, posting that we have a meeting coming up, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
But the Facebook page is pretty active.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when we share things on the Facebook page, like the newsletter or pictures of something neat that happened, I usually also share those on the local community pages,
Mhm.
and then we get more eyes on it that way. So, but yeah, the ECB page, if you guys haven't been on there, it's been kind of revamped. Kim Burkhardt, who's the secretary, but now she's actually
She's a
official
member.
of the ECB. She bumped up. Has done so much work, not just for the ECB, but for the town in general. She's done minutes for many of our meetings. She's helped me with the website. And yeah, she and I think Gary Kokersberger basically redesigned the ECB page, made it, put more information on there, made it easier to follow. It just looks a little more interesting. The pages get stale after several years, they look the same every time. Some of that can't be helped, it's just the nature of it, but it's nice to get a little refresh. Sorry. I didn't mean to
No,
take
you're
over.
good. I know that Jared is working with the ecology classes at the Academy on the Tree of Heaven, which is an invasive.
Yeah.
And they're starting at one of the, cemetery, Sandhill. So that'll be a good project.
That's cool.
Yep, the Vista, we all know about the preserve.
That's really hard to get rid of. Are they working with someone who knows how to get rid of it?
I'm assuming.
Our guy down at Ononda found a patch, the one who's been working with us
Of what?
with the
It's
hemlock
called Tree of
oleodelta.
Heaven, it's an invasive.
Okay.
And he's getting rid of it down there, but he says it's pretty, it's hard to get rid of. If you just cut it, it'll sprout in the roots and just grow new ones. So you have to target all of it, but that's still good to get rid of it.
So this highlights the Vista project, the preserve. So a big thing is the board has been working on a native species list. That's something that I know the planning board frequently will say, please plant native species, and the applicant says, well, what does that mean? So that'll be a really nice resource. Gypsy moth, we talked about that, and the success of the spring, this summer. Let's see, what else do we have? Just the conservation of open space through thorough reviews, that's strategy 3. What else do I want to highlight? Move this very well. Am I too far away?
No, I think it's just.
So this strategy 5 highlights the goals that rose to the top through our strategic planning session, which most of them are actually very much related to natural resource preservation.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, big chunk. So ECB members are on many other committees. That seems to be a theme here. We have so many that are crossovers, right?
Yeah, our tree team.
Housing and,
Our tree team has, Gary Kokensberger comes, he's an ECB member. Edith Davy comes, she's an
she's
ECB member.
ECB, yep.
Bob LaCourse comes, he's planning board member. Our little tree team's growing too.
Mm-hmm. History team, yeah,
Mhm.
it's great. Joyce left in was it 2020 she left, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. The only projects that they have on the agenda right now are the rain barrels, because we wanted to do those at Halloween and then it just fell through because of COVID.
Mhm.
So I know it's rain barrels and then invasive species work.
I see they have an Arbor Day planting. and
Yes, that's a
Tree
plan.
team did one in 2021 and budgeted again to do one in 2022, so they really should do one together probably.
They
Instead
should,
of
because-
two separate ones, that wouldn't make sense.
We have money budgeted,
So do they.
yeah, so that'll be great for at least 2 trees.
Okay.
So where do you do that?
This year, 2021, the tree team planted one at Outhouse Park. And we just asked the parks department, so Lindsay and the parks crew to help us pick a park that needed a tree replacement or a new tree, and we let them pick, and then we bought it, or the tree team bought it with their budget money and planted it.
So will the inclusive park be a candidate for a tree planting?
Sure, any
That's a
town
good
property
idea.
is.
Their plans showed quite a bit of shade.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's a large enough property that definitely.
That's a good idea. Is it generally one tree, Sarah?
The ECB planted 2 just out here a few years ago. The tree team only planted 1, but.
I think we have $600.
So I don't see why you
Budgeted.
couldn't maybe pick a park that needs, a lot of trees and.
Yeah.
I had like 10 in my yard that were Arbor Day plantings. They were like
Mhm.
this big when my kids
Brought
brought
them home free. Yep.
Now they're huge, just huge, beautiful trees.
Is it Kiwanis that does that? Gives away the little
Rotary does.
Rotary.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should join Rotary.
You should. I'll sponsor you. It's Thursdays at noon.
Yeah, it would be, I hope the ECB can get back to doing some stuff next year. I know a lot of the things they wanted to do didn't really happen.
Right. It seemed as if it was a transition year for them.
Yeah.
I mean, is it set?
For
Is
sure.
it for a lot of,
It would be a great project for somebody on the tree committee to join with Rotary on the Arbor Day giveaway, because they give away seedlings. And pretty much every child that lives in the city that can't do anything with a seedling.
That's
It'd be a great project to be able to gather a bunch of children in a park and have them plant a whole section with seedlings, because honestly, the whole side of my yard is planted with Arbor Day trees.
We have a few.
Yeah.
We actually planted one in our yard in the city, dug it up when we moved and brought it with us.
Mhm.
Because
I
it
have
was
a
the
couple
one
in
my
my
little
yard,
kid
too.
brought home from school. I said, we can't
Yeah.
leave that.
Yeah, it was, we as parents made a big deal out of it. We're gonna
Yeah.
plant a tree, because of course, we're out there in the middle of a farm, the old Weipels farm, and there was nothing there. But I just think, that joining with other groups that do things is really good for a group.
I think that's a really good
Yeah.
idea.
There is another Arbor Day tree giveaway, which the Republican committee
There
does.
you
So Republican committee,
They do one at the transfer station every
Yeah.
Arbor Day too.
do they?
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
The seedlings.
Yeah, I think we do about 500, so
Mhm.
Dave Sauter is the contact for that.
There was one, speaking of the ECB, one year the ECB worked with him
Mhm.
to do a tree giveaway, kind of like a workshop. And they talked about trees and planting trees and why they're important, and he helped with that. I don't know if it was instead of the giveaway that year, or if they kind of did it in conjunction, but.
Yeah, it's just at the transfer station. We just go on the closest Sunday to Arbor Day or Saturday to Arbor Day, and
Yep,
anybody who wants a tree, just come to the.
they've done that for years.
Well, they've done at the transfer station.
Yeah.
What you said.
Yeah.
Yep,
Except I can't hear you.
Sorry.
When the kids get the trees, and this is a sidebar, but do they get kind of I don't remember ever seeing, like, this is what you do to, like, this is how you
Tree
keep it
bag.
healthy, this is what you.
The Republican committee does do that. We
I
do
think
all the
that's
time.
My Rotary Club does that too. We
Yeah.
have a pre-printed thing, but it actually comes with the trees.
Mhm.
The pre-printed things. come
The
with
question
the
is if the kids actually bring that piece of paper home.
Right, I'm wondering, like, have I ever seen that?
Between
From home?
backpacks and buses and everything else.
my daughter left her tree in her backpack for a week.
Oh,
Yeah, that happened with us.
Yeah.
Or it got set somewhere and then I found it later.
my son brought home an ice cream in his lunch bag one time.
That's amazing.
Really fun.
It's just so important though.
It is.
You know, because many children in the town live in the newer developments, and it's so easy to take a seedling, plop it in the ground. Don't do it right next to the house. I learned my lesson with that, but, and just, and let the kid know that, this was your tree, and look what happened to it.
Mhm.
There's a weekly Twitter update we could do. Here's how to plant your trees for Arbor Day.
Mhm.
Earlier, you guys were talking about deer.
Mm.
It doesn't do any good to plant a tree unless you give them a tree to.
Cage it, right, or, yeah,
Yeah, cage
about
it.
that too.
And that's a dilemma.
You can't put an evergreen in a tube. I learned that this year. They'll die. But you can put them in, just a
Cage
fence.
them.
Yeah, or some chicken wire
Well,
around
deer,
it.
deer won't eat an evergreen generally, will they?
Yes.
Oh, yes, they do.
Very
Well, they
well.
gotta be real hungry.
Yeah, they eat the bark. I'm sorry, they eat the bark.
I've
And
seen them,
they'll eat the twigs in the winter
they
too.
do the ewes.
You have no idea what I go through to save my seedling trees.
Well, yeah, and
It's like-
that's my point. Yeah, that's just a lollipop for a deer.
Yeah.
What about the kids that live in apartments?
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
you
like,
know,
I mean,
and
I
when you-
never thought about
they'll
that.
take it, and
And then what happens?
I just think it's a great project, and, have them, we're gonna plant a forest, for crying out loud.
Right, and then they can see it and they can visit.
That's
and,
right, they
yeah.
could go and visit it, or have a section at one of the parks, do it in conjunction with the park. I think, Dave,
Sauter.
I think he would love to be involved in something like that.
That's a great program.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a neat idea. I mean, as
It is.
everyone around here knows, the deer are eating all the seedlings in the woods. We aren't getting a regrowth in the woods because they eat all the babies except for ash trees,
Right.
which is really fun.
Yeah, maybe we call it something like a children's forest or something
Yeah.
really cool.
Like
you know?
at Ononda, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be kind of neat to have some seedlings planted in the woods. Because eventually our older trees are gonna die and there's not gonna be anything growing up to replace them.
Right.
That's kind of.
Or over here, don't we own some property right next to the apartments over here too?
Yeah, the woods, some of the woods, yeah.
I mean, that would be walkable for them without having to acquire a ride somewhere, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
At least to one big apartment complex.
I just
Oh,
I think there are
right.
smaller plots available throughout the town where someone would be more than willing to work with a group. Let's plant some trees here, and the world is such a horrible place right now. Yeah, you give kids something that they think is important. It helps them grow up with respect and love for where they live.
Mm-hmm.
That's my tree right there.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, my 52-year-old son knows that the tree outside my bedroom window that I worry about falling on the house
Mhm.
was his Arbor Day tree,
Yeah.
and he knows that.
I remember the tree that I
Well,
broke
you
a
know
tree.
my
And-
son.
Yeah, and I broke a tree by myself in my yard when I was a little kid, and I replanted it by gathering like 50 million maple seeds, and I threw them all in a hole, and I still drive by that tree today, and I'm like, that's my tree.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the playground, the inclusive playground.
Mm-hmm.
My son helped one area, and every time we go by, it's like, hey,
That's my
you know,
spot.
that's what I did. I mean, it's just, they love that. They have
Yeah,
ownership
I
and
think so
pride.
too.
Mhm.
You know, and especially the inclusive playground. If you had an area
So,
where kids
right.
could plant, you could also put a little plaque there. This was planted by
That's what I was
the
thinking.
children of Canandaigua.
Mhm.
All right, come on.
That's right.
I don't know if we'd be ready for that this Arbor Day, but that's a great idea for maybe,
Next hour, yeah, no, I don't think you are either.
maybe in a year or two.
But
do
this spot
something
you
there.
might be this year.
Behind the apartments.
Yeah, I would think that would be great. I mean, that's town property and it's walkable from over there, so.
But it's something that really the tree committee or the ECB could get involved with. You could leave it out of there and join with one of the service organizations and, you know, let somebody else do all the work.
Mhm.
I think it's definitely a good idea to
I
get
do
the two
too.
of them together, planning for Arbor Day.
You said that, is that April or March?
It's always in
April-
April, I think
April
it's the
1st.
fourth Friday of the month every year.
Yeah,
Fourth Friday?
It was like April
Oh, is it the
18th or
Friday?
something.
It's always on a Friday.
I thought it was the first.
April.
Because my
It was
birthday's
last
the
year.
25th, and it's
Arbor Day
always usually near my
2020.
birthday.
2020, 2022. When is Arbor Day in 2022? April 29th,
Okay, so it's the
Friday.
last.
You're correct,
Okay.
it's the last Friday in April.
Oh, last
Last
Friday,
Friday.
okay.
It's always the last
April
Friday.
29th. that's
Plus
what
you've
we
got
to
Earth
say.
Day in April
Yeah.
too,
But they're usually
22nd.
right
like
near each
a
other,
week
so.
after.
So we could name a tree for Sarah.
Sarah tree.
Birthday tree.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
not suggest that the Rotary Club of Canandaigua help with that this year because they will all be out of town at the Rotary District Conference.
Yeah, well, that's if they have
a week
it.
ago, so, unless we go rather, so.
The tree team didn't meet in December, but I think, and they're planning on meeting well before Arbor Day, but I'll mention it at their next meeting, and, I know we don't have any ECB members here today, but maybe Shauna, you and I can check in with them and see if they want to team up together
Absolutely,
to do something. I think that's a good idea. Make one bigger event rather than
really good.
two separate smaller events.
See, my Rotary Club in Victor Farmington, we join with both municipalities on projects similar to that. I mean, usually it requires more money than some trees, but, and you do too, you joined, Rotary did stuff at Outhouse Park.
Yeah, the Canandaigua Rotary Group takes care of the flowers every year at one of the little fitness stops at Outhouse.
They donated the fitness equipment over there too.
Yeah, and they come and they make it look really nice almost every year. And then also this year, I think the Rotary came and cleaned up, took trash.
Yes, I know they
That
did
was
that,
so
yes,
nice.
Rotary did
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Which was really nice.
But, I mean, they're a big club, they're proud of them, they can do a whole lot more.
I might know a Rotary member in Canandaigua, or two, or three.
Or three.
There's two right here in the room.
I
Yeah.
say,
Does the town board still have for lack of a better understanding, an environmental committee? I think Kevin Reynolds was chairman of it way back, or is
Sort
that
of.
dissolved?
Kind of. So yes, officially, there's still an environmental committee, which is one of the 4 town board committees. But in 2021, the environmental committee stopped having separate meetings, and the members were invited to attend the ECB.
Okay, so
There
that's
was a
been-
discussion of maybe that could somehow change some way, but nothing ever happened officially with it. That's the last I heard, was that the environmental committee members have been invited to ECB meetings. Of course, they can't vote on it or anything, but
I think the environmental committee was started when Greg was.
the town board committees,
Yeah.
the original plan, I think, was a town board member would chair each one.
Yeah.
It's not always happened that way, but yeah. I think-
Public Works Committee
was
and so on,
2017.
so when we change administrations, I wondered whether there would be, because Gary brought up last night, something about what climate smart communities or
Yes.
whatever, and I think we got too many committees, and perhaps we do.
Is that there gonna be a subcommittee of?
Well, we don't know, but
It's not done yet, but the Climate Smart Communities Programs does require a task force,
Mhm.
but many of the topics they discuss are
Could-
things that the Public Works Committee works on, so
or could be
We're
the
still-
ECB or something, I
we're
mean,
still working on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have committees that don't exist or don't meet or whatever.
So yeah, long answers. Yes, there's still an environmental committee, they're just in transition, I
But
think.
doesn't it, we have a committee that doesn't meet, so it doesn't exist,
Well, officially, it still exists.
okay? And we were, in that report, they're talking about the tree of heaven, that's Elantha, I think, or Atlantis.
Atlantis,
Is that the one with
What-
the shiny?
But it's
Underside, no.
all over, you're never gonna kill it unless we get lots of lantern flies. That's,
Oh,
Great.
that's not what we want.
the spotted lantern fly
It'd be cool if they ate the tree of heaven.
No.
apparently likes to eat.
it's a host species
Wonderful.
for the spotted lanternfly, so if
Yeah.
you can get rid of tree of heaven, it lessens the
Ah.
impact of the spotted
But they're
lanternfly.
everywhere, it's not just in some cemetery. They're
It does look
everywhere.
like a fern.
They look a lot like the native sumac.
Oh, yeah, it's like a
Yes.
You have
sumac
to
Yeah,
get
form.
really
most
close
people
to see
think
the
they're sumac,
difference.
yes.
I see it.
Is
It's a
sumac
smooth,
one that grows
smooth
so
bark,
crazy
very,
fast?
very
Yes.
They're
prolific.
just near the road and it has like pink flowers, but
Sumac's the one that has those weird, like,
Yeah.
powdery flower things that come off of
they
it.
look like a cone, a purple
They
pink
do.
cone. Now the ailanthus, it's more of a pale pink flower bowl, like it's not a cone shape like the sumac, but one of them has jagged leaves and one of them has smooth edged leaves.
Yeah.
But it's everywhere,
Here's one.
sadly.
Tree of heaven.
Oh, there's the flower.
Yeah.
Before you destroy this.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're hard to tell apart.
Yeah.
You have to get unless they're flowering and then they're really.
So which one has the jagged edge? The
I
sumac.
can't remember, but that's one of the main differences. You can, like, if there's no flowers, you can just look at the leaves. One of them
Okay.
has
Yeah,
jagged
they're-
edges. and one of
I think this sumac.
Opposed
if this
leaves.
is correct. If this picture is correct, this showing the
Also, the tree of
non-jagged
heaven,
on the tree of
It
heaven.
grows to be a large tree.
Yeah.
And sumac does not.
80 feet tall, apparently. Wow. Yeah, sumac's usually the one like 20 feet.
Yeah, they're more like a
It's
shrubby
it's a
tree.
softwood tree and it sprouts from the roots.
Yes, that's why it's hard to kill.
It's
'Cause
Chinese.
you can chop it down, but then
Yeah,
the
then it
systems
comes
back
back
up.
up.
Sprout
It
and
comes from China.
Okay.
Anyway,
That's all we have for the
that's
ECB.
all we have for the ECB report. I know we kind of trailed off a little bit, but that's okay. I don't have anything else for our meeting today. This is our last meeting of the year.
Whoa.
We won't see you guys again until after the holidays. I think it's the first week after the holidays is when the next meeting is. Yep, January 4th, so it's a Tuesday. Shauna and I, in between now and then, will be working on the schedule for next year. And so I'll try and send a reminder before then. As we get closer.
We need a new one of these that are behind Shauna.
Yeah, with the new goals.
We do.
Yes,
For the top five.
that's- we do need to redo that.
Yeah, we do.
But anyway, that's all I have. Does anyone have any other questions or things they want an update on that I might not have mentioned?
Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Is the signage committee done with their work?
I don't know, Oksana, you and I should probably have a conversation about that. I'm not sure, we haven't put any signs in the ground yet. And we have all of our locations, but not necessarily the exact spots, so they may not want to be completely done.
Okay.
I don't know, why don't you and I plan to talk about that soon?
The face of the sign was approved?
Yes.
The lake, okay, because Lamar Advertising is putting up the billboards.
Right.
They have a spot underneath for the town of Canandaigua to have a sign. So I said to them, because of the continuity, let's get the face that was approved, so we don't have a different town of Canandaigua sign.
Yeah.
Wait. So we actually have a settlement agreement that actually includes that as our logo. It's just a very small blue and white sign that actually has the logo with the lake and stuff. And that's actually part of the settlement agreement that was spelled out. So I don't know that we can change that now.
Okay. Do you want me to look into that, Doug?
So yeah, we need to have additional conversations about that, Shauna.
Okay. It's gonna be probably another month or two before those billboards go up. They need their DOT approval.
The one of them is pretty much at the Canandaigua town line,
Sarah,
right?
have you published a calendar of all the meetings
No.
for 22? Okay, but you'll put it online or something?
Yeah, I mean, the dates aren't gonna change that we know of. The town board organizational meeting is January 10th, so officially that's, when they establish the CIC again for another year. But they usually don't, there's usually not a schedule in that resolution for the CIC, and we didn't in here talk about changing the schedule, so as far as I know, we're just gonna continue with the schedule we've always done. So first and third at 9 a.m.
I'm thinking of things like the ECB and whatever.
The ECB's schedule is on the planning board, zoning board schedule, and that's on the website, the draft. I can send it to you if you wanted to.
So is there a calendar that has all of the,
That's what I
Yes,
was looking
that's
for.
what
The
you're
yeah.
website, if you
The
go to the
website.
website and click on the calendar, all of our meetings are on there.
Sometimes
Most
it's,
of the
yeah, I was
meetings
gonna
are
say,
on there.
sometimes there's a few.
Sometimes if things get changed,
Yeah.
it may fall through the cracks.
And
But
sometimes they don't have
regularly
the Zoom,
scheduled stuff.
which would be helpful.
What?
If they always had the Zoom, would be really helpful on the calendar.
The ones I know of do. I
Yeah.
don't know if some of the other ones
Yeah.
don't, but they should be mostly up to date.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, it's the same Zoom. Like for this meeting, it doesn't
Yeah.
change. It's
Mhm.
always the same. Same with the planning board, and I think the zoning board and the ECB, those are always.
They're all the same.
And the ag committee.
But if you're not a member of the committee, obviously you don't get an email with the Zoom information, so.
No,
it's
but
just-
it should be on the
Yeah,
calendar for
that's
all of
what-
those at least. I mean, everybody, all of these groups don't have the same staff members working on
Mhm,
them.
yeah.
So it just sometimes it's done a little differently. There's multiple people who upload and update the calendar. But the last time I looked at it a couple of months ago, all the regularly scheduled meetings that don't change had the Zoom links in the calendar. And then, of course, like Jean, like with the town board committees, like the ordinance committee and stuff like that, those, if something changes, she sends out a notice about those, and that's when it'll show up like on MailChimp or Facebook or something. So, yeah. Yeah, so the website calendar, Tom, is a good spot to go.
Okay.
It's usually accurate. Does anyone else have anything else?
Nope.
All right, well, like I said, we'll send
I
out
think
a
so.
reminder
Let's do it
closer
again
to
on
the
here,
next
so, but I
meeting,
think so.
with hopefully with a draft schedule for the
I
year.
said it for 2 hours yesterday.
but
I'm like,
We won't see you guys till after
Yeah, I
then.
tried
Everybody
it
have a
yesterday.
really nice
and
holiday.
it worked.
Yep, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
so Merry Christmas,
Yeah, I
everyone.
sent you
Yeah.
an email back.
All right,
'cause it
thanks,
was
guys.
Oh, I
just,
haven't been in
yeah,
Bye-bye.
I am today, but it's.
Bye.
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 Um,